Ever heard of flipping the family fortune? That's exactly what Addy is doing. He found out his dad only left him $2 million in cash, so he called in lawyer Haim to figure out what other treasures his dad had left behind. He wanted to see how much cash he could use. Haim was stunned Addy would spend so freely. Haim said he inherited much, but little cash, far from the rosy newspaper tales. He proposed selling the wall painting. Selling the painting might just cover it, but that would take months. Addy needed cash like yesterday. Haim mentioned an anonymous buyer who was willing to pay over the asking price for his mansion. Addy jumped on that and had his lawyer meet the buyer ASAP. Having inherited many assets, Addy found himself in a whirlpool of selling them. He wondered what the buyer wanted. He arrived at the estate only to be approached by a stunning woman named Susan. Susan said she did business with his dad and wanted to hand over to him. Addy was shocked his dad knew nothing about business. He had plenty of inherited wealth, but all of it was outdated. He followed Susan into the barn. The woman asked Addy if his father had ever mentioned farm earnings, and he was like, nope, not a clue. He didn't think cows would rake in much, but what she said next made his heart skip a beat. She told him just the rent from the farm could bring in $5 million a year, and Addy was stunned. But profits were separate. What kind of business was this? Confused, Addy followed her into a shipping container. When she opened the ground hatch, he was absolutely flabbergasted by what he saw. Turns out there was a massive underground marijuana farm beneath his estate. Susan revealed they approached his father with the idea to set up shop underground. If Addy really wanted to sell the place now, this whole operation would be toast. Addy asked, so besides the $5 million in rent, there's also a 10% profit share. The revenue here must be over $50 million, right? Susan nodded, telling him his father never meddled in these matters, and now he was the new landlord. But Addy helplessly replied he had already listed the estate for sale to help his brother pay off his debts. Susan warned him that selling this place would probably bring him trouble. Addy went to the housekeeper for intel, and the housekeeper warned him that Susan's connections were quite powerful. It's not easy to get rid of them. After returning home, Addy called his lawyer and decided he wouldn't be selling the estate after all. The next day, he called Susan again to say they would continue to cooperate, but he needed $8 million up front. Susan asked for the creditor's name, going up for a negotiation. Turns out the creditor Tommy was also one of her clients, hiding his true identity while pretending to sell fish at the seafood market. Susan met with Tommy to discuss Fred's debts, hoping he'd reduce the interest. She mentioned if he could drop the interest, she'd provide $1 million worth of weed as compensation. And they needed to film a humiliating video too. It didn't sound so far-fetched, Susan agreed. But this seemingly simple condition is, in reality, far from simple. Addy was hustling to raise money for his brother. He sold off his dad's vintage wine collection and finally scrounged up $4 million. At this point, he was really impressed with Susan. She somehow cut his original $8 million debt down to $4 million. However, when Addy opened his safe, he was shocked to find the original $2 million in cash had vanished. The only other person who could open that safe was his brother. Was it all Fred's doing? He tried to convince Fred to take the money home, but unexpectedly, Fred had already placed his bets. He was convinced he'd win and claimed to have insider information. But he had no idea that Susan also had her own informants, and the information they obtained was entirely the opposite. This match was truly just a farce aimed at rich kids. The house was clearly guaranteed to make a profit without loss. Frustrated, Addy felt helpless on someone else's turf. Susan noticed and said she'd handle it. Susan was super efficient. The next day, she took Addy to wait outside someone's house. After her subordinate gave a signal, Addy and she got out of the car together. His subordinate came out carrying 2 bags of money and inquired if Addy wanted to count them. She also asked if he wanted to hear an apology. Addy was confused. Didn't we just get the money? Why apologize? Just then, a muscle-bound dude dragged out a bloody mess of a guy. Susan asked Addy if he was satisfied, and back home, he told Fred he had gotten the money back. He informed Fred that the whole match was a scam. Instead of the original $8 million debt, They now only needed to pay back $4 million. Fred couldn't believe his ears. Addie said there was one condition: they wanted Fred to dress up as a chicken and sing about being a jerk. Fred thought it over. Maybe that's why their father never let him inherit anything. Dressing up as a chicken? That really didn't matter at all. But when he found out they wanted to film it, he got a little less enthusiastic. Yet, thinking about that $4 million, he reluctantly agreed.